So, before I begin this talk, I want to mention that the way I calculate, and next Monday, it'll be 1 year anniversary of having done these early morning in California, these daily sittings, weekday sittings, meditations and teachings. Kind of remarkable that it's lasted a year, and remarkable for many of us how wonderful it's been to do this. So I thought that next Monday we could do a community meeting to acknowledge, celebrate this 1 year mark, and we haven't done it for a long time, and my own personal life has meant that I can't. It's been hard to add more things like that, but I can do it next Monday, and so we can. So what it'll be is there'll be a Zoom meeting. So after we finish here at about 7:45, you'll be given access to a Zoom link, and then we'll switch over to the Zoom and be able to meet and hang out and talk and maybe break into little groups, and so you can chat a little bit with this YouTube community and maybe meet some of the people whose names appear on the on the chat, and then we can also talk a little bit about some of the questions and issues around our little community and this meetings and the continuation of it and all that. Planning to continue, and so next Monday, the 15th. So one of the foundational cornerstone teachings of the Buddha is that it intimately connects to both meditation and living a daily life is the idea of wholesome and unwholesome. Sometimes it's translated as skillful and unskillful. More informally, I like to translate it as helpful and unhelpful. That there is a way of and it has to do with the actions, what we do, and some of those actions don't really, maybe in English we don't think of them as actions, but more like states, wholesome states. But they still have a kind of little bit, they're an activity of the mind in the background somehow. And so these are states of mind, actions of the mind, activities of the mind, ways of being that feel like as if they're nourishing. And that word nourishing is a word that the Buddha used, that different things, different mental states and mental activities operated as food or as nourishment for ourselves. So it isn't just simply generosity is generosity. Generosity is a wholesome state, healthy state that is nourishing, that has a good influence on us. So loving kindness is that. Mindfulness is considered a wholesome state that is nourishing and has a good influence on us. Tranquility is a wholesome state, wholesome way of being that is as a nourishing. It nourishes us, nourishes more tranquility, and so this idea of both of nourishment, wholesomeness, comes into play now in the third tetrad of the 16 steps of Anapanasati in a number of ways. The 10th step is gladdening the mind. And this gladdening the mind, some people translate it as satisfying the mind or enjoying the mind. And this comes with the ability to feel the goodness, the delight, the enjoyment, not just of pleasure, but of this nourishment, this wholesomeness that can happen. And this comes with, as we no longer fixate or focus on the details of our inner life, but begin looking at the big picture. And that's what experiencing the mind as a whole. We're not preoccupied with the past, preoccupied with the future, our desires, focusing on particular emotions that we have that are really troublesome for us. All reasonable things to do at times, but as we go deeper and deeper into meditation, we're relaxing and letting go and not fixating on things, that there's a softening and a deepening and an opening that begins happening, that we become aware of the quality of our inner life. And another way I'd like to translate citta, the mind or the heart, the whole quality of the inner life. And as we let go a lot and are going through these deeper states of meditation, we tap into a sense of wholesomeness, goodness, and some nourishment. Something that feels very satisfying just to be here. And now this becomes a valuable thing to experience. This becomes something to imbibe, to feel, to allow oneself to be influenced by. And so to understand that the Buddha's teachings is based on this movement towards the wholesome, and to the degree to which we do what's wholesome, do wholesome things in our life, skillful things, do things which are ethically wholesome, that is psychologically wholesome, that leads to a sense of being whole rather than being fragmented, a sense of being inclusive rather than holding things at bay and holding things in check. This becomes very important as we start moving into developing samadhi or unification, the 11th step of anapanasati. Breathing in, one unifies the mind. Breathing out, one unifies the mind. Another translator, breathing in, one steadies the mind. Breathing out, one steadies the mind. Another translator, breathing in, one concentrates the mind. Breathing out, one concentrates the mind. So these words, unify, steady, concentrate, are all in the domain of this third tetrad. One experiences the mind, one gladdens or satisfies the mind, and then one concentrates, unifies the mind. And this sequence points to the fact that it's a lot easier for the mind to get unified, to gather together, to get organized, to get settled, to be steady. When there's a feeling of, when the mind feels like a satisfying place, an enjoyable place to be, the heart is wholesome and good. And so we're not recoiling from inner pain or struggle or angst. We're not afraid of ourselves and trying to avoid parts of ourselves. We've come to the place where we're now inclusive. The mind, we associate more with the inclusivity of the big mind rather than the particular details. We might still have particular details that are difficult for sure, but it's not where we're locked into or what we're preoccupied with. We respect it, but where now the mind holds it all in a more expansive, open way. And that expansive, open mind, that is where we begin feeling something allows for something wholesome and satisfying and deep to happen. And so rather than huffing and puffing to get concentrated, it's more like, this is good. The mind wants to settle. The mind wants to go into be more settled. Doesn't want to be scattered. In fact, to be scattered, to go into the past and the future, to be caught up in thoughts, to become narrow again or locked into something again, it just starts feeling doesn't really feel interesting. It's like why would you? And there's not much juice, much energy to be distracted, because it feels so good to be here, right here. So maybe the way I'm talking is kind of grand and grandiose, and a little bit seems like a little bit beyond what's possible for you. But what I want to emphasize is that we are kind of moving in the direction of an inner goodness, an inner wholesomeness, some kind of way that an inner life feels satisfying. And I like to use the word, we feel at home in ourselves. Oh, I'm home. It's so good to be here. Of course I want to be here. And it's with this mind, this way of being, that when we connect to our breathing, that we do it in a way that feels satisfying, tender, caring. We appreciate the opportunity to start again. Rather than being a burden and rather being dejected or dismayed that we wandered off in thought, we feel, yes, I come home, this is good. And then when we sustain the attention, it's not because we're struggling to do it or holding things at bay. It's because we are, this is good, I'm home, and this feels nice to be here in the present moment. So it's called the initial application of attention, this connecting, and the sustained application of attention, this sustaining attention. Ideally, it's all kind of nourishing. And maybe each of you can have a different reference point or example that supports you for this. I used in the meditation the idea of doing Tai Chi of the mind, coming back to your breathing, hanging in there with the breathing. Those gentle, flowing movements of Tai Chi, where the point isn't to get to the end of the Tai Chi movements as quickly as you can. The point is there's an action we're doing, Tai Chi, but each moment is complete in itself as we're really into that part of the movement. For some of you, it might be gardening. Maybe you love gardening and just being and weeding and planting, just doing it. You're not in a hurry to do it. It's just tender. It's nourishing. It's maybe it's kind of a parental feeling of your plants. It's just kind of tending and caring. Maybe it's a craft. Maybe it's caring for someone who's sick, that you do it in a loving way. So you might think about what example you have in your life of doing something which has qualities of wholesomeness, nourishment, satisfaction, inner goodness. That represents for you the movement we're going, the downhill slope, the pull of gravity of meditation. This is where we're going. And with that, we cultivate unification. We cultivate a steadiness, a deep settledness, and what some people call concentration. So enjoy yourself, enjoy your mind, and or provide your mind with a way of being that the mind enjoys. Let your inner actions, inner attitudes, thoughts, and feelings be something that the mind really appreciates. That the mind feels, this is good. The mind says, I like being with this person. I like being here. I don't feel like I need to run off anymore because the way this is operating for this person, this is really good. And maybe your mind will stick around and stick around for your breathing and for your meditation in the present moment. So thank you all very much, and I look forward to tomorrow.